Welcome to our Tech Talk today. Tech Talk at Symphony. This is something new for us. Well, not really new, but it's new project from Symphony Academy. Yeah. Sorry for my noisy budgies out there, but I will mute myself soon. So, Tech Talk at Symphony is about sharing your experience and your knowledge with other colleagues. And if you are willing to share your knowledge, please let us know and we will organize a Tech Talk with you. So you will be our next speaker. But today, our speaker is a beautiful lady, our symphonian Ibironke. And I remember, like I told her at the very beginning today, I remember having a cultural interview with her. I was some time ago, but I remember thinking that would be great to have this person, to have this lady with us at Symphony. And as like the French would say, voila, here she is with us today, sharing her knowledge and talking about challenges in test automation and how to overcome them. So I'm here just for facilitating. So if you have any questions, please ask. But I believe you'll have more questions to Ibironke, and I believe she will answer them later. But for now, I give the floor to Ibironke. Ibironke, welcome. Thank you for joining us today. And now we are all ears.
All right. Thank you so much, Yana. Thank you so much, everyone that's tuned in. It's a great privilege being here. I think that in my previous environment and currently in my place of work, what we mostly do is just to have like Friday's tech talk within the team. But this is quite different. This is more of like a tech talk event within the company. So yeah, it's great to be here. Okay, so quickly, I won't bore you so much. In the next 10 to 20 minutes, I should deliver what I'm here to. And of course, if you have questions, feel free to drop them in the chat section and I will answer everything. So we'll talk about the challenges in test automation and how to overcome them, the myths and the facts that are involved in them. And the truth is test automation challenges is not just for testers or for developers, but it's also for business owners as well. Everybody in the team has issues with test automation. Okay, so I think Yana already done my introduction. A senior test automation engineer here. Before now, or let me say in my free time, I do lead testing coaching. I'm a Ministry of Testing community lead in Nigeria. A Google Women Tech Ambassador. I also teach people how to switch into tech. And before now, I used to be an agile coach and scrum master. Yeah, so that's just a bit about me. And of course, my full name is my handle on any social media platform. No fancy, just my full name, straight up. Yeah. So we are going to be covering some very long. The titles are very long, but they are quite very short. So we are going to be viewing test automation from a novice point of view, the fears that both testers and business owners have, the might and the fact about these challenges, but the step-by-step to overcome them both as a tester and as a business owner. Of course, there are some heads up you need to know about the challenges of test automation and test automation from my own view, and of course, a take home for everybody. Okay, so talking about viewing test automation from a novice point, the truth is that if you are not a test automation engineer, you are a novice of test automation. Be it a developer, be it a manual tester, be it a business owner, be it a PM, be it Scrum Master. If you are not a test automation engineer, you are a novice of test automation. It doesn't get familiar because you are into testing. It doesn't become easier because you are a developer. I was very shocked about this because in my previous experience, I was giving my developers every Friday challenges. So on one of those Fridays, during the course of the project, they have given this boastness that what's there in test automation? It's not just a simple thing. I can code already. It's just for me to write a test. And like, okay. So we did like an office hackathon. And then they realized that it was quite totally different from what they think it was. So if you are not a test automation engineer, you are a novice of test automation. Looking at it from the novice perspective, and I say novice because every other person in the team, as long as you are not a test automation engineer, you are a novice. A business owner would say, from a business owner's perspective, a business owner would say developer can carry out test automation. Anybody in the team that can code can carry out test automation. A product manager would say, test automation is just purely coding and scripting. If I'm to do a survey round for everybody, these are the kind of comments I would get. But I've gotten this comment even from the last conference I spoke at Google the other time. So responses are always familiar to this circle. An engineering manager, funny enough, engineering manager will say, test automation managers are better than manual testers. A manual tester would say manual testing is just enough. I don't want to do automation. A user or someone totally different or not in the tech circle would say that thing involves coding, so it's very difficult and hard. And of course, a developer would say it is simple, just like the unit checks we do. So these are all novice perspective. These are all novice point of view. These are what novice used to say. But the truth is that all of that is very wrong. None of it is correct at all. But the truth is, from a business owner should know that a developer cannot carry out test automation, and it is way more than manual testing. Product managers should know that it is not purely coding and scripting, and it cannot be done quickly. An engineering manager should know that a test automation manager is as important as a manual tester. A manual tester should also know that manual testing is just not enough. A user should know that it is not difficult nor hard, because even a secondary school student can be taught and they will learn it. I can prove that because I have done quite a lot of training for secondary school students to do testing, so I can prove that. And then a developer should know that it is not simple test like unit checks. So these are the views that, regardless the category you fall into, you need to change your perspective about test automation, just so you get more understanding about it. So let's face it, we have fears. Both testers and businesses, we have fears. And basically, fears is just false evidence that are appearing to be real, right? They are things that makes you feel like this is the way this thing is, but it's just appearing to be real, is actually false. What are the fears of a business? The truth is, the one major fear of a business when it comes to test automation is the cost, is the waste of money. They believe it's a waste of money. They believe it takes them so much money to set up test automation. Hiring the test automation experts is quite expensive. And of course, training their testers to become test automation is also very expensive. So they fear of wasting money. They fear they might not be able to get value for their money. They fear of, not getting return on investment. I know one of the questions that will be in your mind is, so why is there so much money in setting up test automation? I think it's just a laptop. But the truth is that there are money that is being spent when it comes to, so for example, a laptop, if you are into test automation, maybe a mobile automation, for example, you will not be able to use a Windows PC. You would have to use a Mac PC. And it's kind of Mac, there is a configuration that can work for you as a test automation engineer. If you're also doing test automation, especially now that I'm in an age of mobile, so you will need to have different versions of devices, applications. So when you're testing your application, you're not testing it on just Android 10, you are going to be testing it on different Android devices. And you want to have sample of those devices with you. So there's investment. There's investment in setting up architecture. There's investment in setting up your pipeline. There are costs and expenses to it. So yes, it's a lot of money, and businesses fear them. They fear wasting this money. They fear hiring an expert, which will be quite very expensive, even than just hiring someone that's just into manual testing. They also fear of training experts. So I have done a training for a bank in Nigeria before, the staffs of a bank in Nigeria testing team. And after we finished training them on test automation, both web and mobile, Everybody in the company left. They left because the company currently pays them less, and because they now have the skill sets, they had to go and join another company. It's just like you're working in Nigeria as a tester, for example, earning like, let's say, £300, €300. Because you are now skilled in test automation, you now see offers as high as €1,000. So yes, people leave because especially when they know that there's more money out there for them. So yes, businesses are having the fear of wasting their money, and they don't want to train people, and then they eventually leave the company. For the testers, yes, testers also have fears when it comes to test automation. The fear of the time it will consume them to learn testing. Quite a number of time, we don't always want to give you that time, to sit down, to start learning programming languages, to start learning the implementation, the structure, the frameworks needed, the architecture flow needed. Yes, time. And of course, testers, especially those that have, spent quite a number of time doing manual testing, they have a fear of the complexity, how difficult it will be for them to learn automation testing. The fear of losing their jobs, right? It means that if I don't know test automation, the company can lay me off. The fear of losing money, meaning that if you are not skilled in test automation, you can be scared of not being able to negotiate for a good offer, and that means you will get more money. They also have the fear of opportunities. You want to work in companies like Symphony or Symphony clients, you want to work with them, you want to work with other opportunities, but you don't have the skill set. So you lose opportunity, and that's a fear. The fear of not wanting to lose opportunity. So these are the fear of the testers. But the truth is that there are myths and there are facts about those fears. Some fears are actually very real. They are very correct, they are very valid, and they are here to stay. While some fears are actually not valid, they are not true. So, myths or in the fears of a tester, or let me say generally for both testers and business owner, is waste of money. The truth is that is a myth, right? You're not going to be wasting money, rather you're investing. There's a difference between, putting 20,000 euros away versus investing 20,000 euros, because your investment will always yield a return, right? You always get a return on investment. I would talk about complexity and how to, I'll talk about the return on investment later on. Complexity is actually not difficult. I just feel this just the time that is needed. Test automation is not complex, it's not difficult, it's not hard to learn. And losing of jobs is a myth, because there are roles that specifically for manual testing and there are roles that specifically for test automation. So you are definitely not going to be losing your job if you don't have test automation skills. So they are not correct. But the fact is that, yes, it is expensive. It costs money. It is very expensive. And as a tester who is not skilled up, you keep losing money and you keep losing opportunity. Those are facts about it. So if you don't know test automation, you might not be able to apply for some offers. You might not be able to negotiate for some money. Clients might not be able to put you in some categories or some levels because you are not good at it, and you lose opportunities, you lose money. And of course, for business owners, it is expensive because you need to get tools, you need to set up your team, you need to hire an expert. So it's a lot of money, there's a lot of investment to be made. So those are the facts about it. But yes, we have been able to identify all the fears. We need to be able to overcome them, right? The truth is, thinking will not overcome them. I've had testers who spend quite a number of time, or businesses thinking about, they're scared of this test automation thing, just like a different word entirely, but thinking will not overcome them, but action will. For a tester, the first step to overcome your fears is to identify your knowledge gap. What is it that you don't know, and what is it that you want to know, right? You know where you are, you know what you can do, you know what you want to learn, so identify the knowledge gap. Once you identify the knowledge gap, how do you fill it up, right? How do you learn? Are you going to buy some courses? Is your company going to train you? Are you going to pay for some academy? just identify how you're going to fill it up. Then draw out, I call it a knowledge growth map. Knowledge growth map means that every month, it's not something you have to learn within 1 month and you have to be perfect at it, right? It's just something you need to draw out the map. Okay, this month I want to learn, I want to start learning API testing. In the next 2 months, I want to be very good at API automation testing. In the third month, I want to learn a programming language. I want to understand programming language structure itself. In the fourth month, I want to pick up a particular programming language to learn. In the fifth month, I want to learn how to use this programming language to do web automation. In the sixth month, I want to use this programming language to do mobile automation. In the seventh month, I want to know how to deploy my project, my test automation project for clients, swiftly within the team. So it's a roadmap. It's not something you pile up and want to learn because you never achieve that. So yes, draw up a knowledge map and learn. Yeah, that's the core work that you learn. You actually learn and then you implement what you have learned. Very important because yes, a lot of mistakes we do is we take courses, we attend seminars, we attend events like this, we attend tech talk like Symphony just set up right now, but we don't implement what we have learned. So yes, we need to learn and implement. And next thing is to reassess your technical skills on the current project you're working on. So go for a reassessment. If you need your manager to reassess you, set up a meeting, tell your engineering manager you want him to reassess you to check your technical skills. You want to know what you have learned, what you need to learn. You want to know your growth progress. So yes, there's a timely reassessment. Influence your team positively with your knowledge, right? Let what you have learned reflect on your project. I remember when I just joined the client I was working with, I had to, first time I heard about Zypher tool for test automation, I had to go and learn about it and I actually implemented it. So most of my test cases now, in fact, I find it more interesting now to use Zypher to write test cases rather than Excel sheet. So yes, implement it with your team, share knowledge, explore the tools, understand it, and yeah. And lastly, share what you know. That's quite a magic that a lot of people do not use. They don't learn how to use it. They don't try to use it. You should share. Sharing helps you to reiterate what you have known. Sharing reassess what you know, even in your mind, even in your brain when you're thinking about it. Sharing is just very good because it helps you pass knowledge and it challenges you to learn more, right? So I know that I'm going to be speaking at an event. I know I want to learn how to do public speaking. So I had to go and learn how to do public speaking so that I can communicate effectively. So sharing challenges you and you should do that more often. So these are the steps, very basic steps you can use to overcome your fears of test automation. For business owners, identify why you need test automation. Is it really important? Is it really useful? I had a survey in December last year and testers says that, oh, I joined a company as a test automation engineer, but I just get there and I do just manual testing. I've been there in the last 2 years, but all I do is manual testing. The clients or the companies I work with that don't have test automation in place, they don't have the setup, they don't have the structure. So the question is, do you really need test automation or you just want to have test automation because, it's a beautiful thing to have on the company's profile that you do test automation. So identify why you need test automation, how urgent or how important is it? You need to know that. If it's not something you need right now, especially if you are just starting or you're just building your product, you don't need test automation, right? If you already have a stable product, if you already have a stable environment for your test automation to flourish, then that is when you can identify that you need it. So you need to know how important or how urgent it is needed before you start setting it up or before you start hiring for it. Identify who is needed in your team. Do you need a junior automation tester, a senior automation tester, a mobile automation tester, a web automation tester? Who do you need? Or you need an API automation tester. So you need to identify who is needed in your team before you try to hire just an automation tester. Make the prerequisite available for a test automation setup. And this is one of the mistakes a lot of businesses make. You want to employ a test automation engineer, but you don't have manual testers in your team. You need to have manual testers in your team before an automation testing can flourish. An automation person is not meant to start writing test cases, start doing documentation. No, they have documentation that they do as a technical test automation engineer. So they would only feed on what manual testers have done to do their test automation. So you need to make sure that every prerequisite that is needed is available. Um, be ready for investments and set return on investment. So you are going to spend money. One of the clients I work with in Ghana, in Africa, one time when I first joined, we first had to look at, check out their business Google Analytics, check out the devices their customer uses, then we used that to buy the kind of devices that I needed. At that point, they had to ship me over like 15 devices for testing, for actual usability testing once we release live. So I take those devices, I go to users around me and give them the devices just to test and use the product. So you must be ready for investment, and you can set a return on investment. Oh, when I employ these testers, it will take a while, yes, but in 3 months, this is what I expect to get on return on my investment. In 6 months down the line, this is what I expect. In 9 months, set the pipeline for your return on investment so that it can help to guide the expectation of both you and the test automation engineers. These are the easy ways to overcome this test automation as a business owner. You just need to put structure. You need to know why it is needed, why it is important, who do you need in your team, set the prerequisites, be ready for investments, and set your return on investment. And I'm very sure that implementing all of this will help you get a huge return back on investment. In fact, it saves a lot of businesses, cost based on my own experiences. We have realized some cases where we only needed 2 test automation engineers, but the company were previously interviewing for like 6 to 7 people. It's not really necessary. It's not really needed. Rather, we needed more manual testers and just 2 test automation engineers. So having all of these steps in place can help you, reduce cost and get return on the little you have invested. So I think I'm rounding up already. Heads up on the challenges of test automation. Of course, there are challenges when it comes to test automation. There are things you need to know ahead. I might say it's very pretty and very easy here, but it's not as easy as it is said. So one is that it requires time and patience. This is both for testers, PMs, product owners, everybody, right? Business owners, you need to know that test automation requires time and patience. It also requires investment of tools will be required. Very important. You might need to set up to like browser stack or different things you want to use within the team. Collaboration with everyone is a must. Even if you employ a test automation engineer, you need to understand that the person will not know all, the person will not do all. Somebody needs to review their code, somebody needs to reassess it, somebody needs to approve it. It requires collaboration from everybody. Test automation doesn't happen at the beginning of a project. That's one thing. So don't start your project today and start looking for test automation, right? It's not required at the beginning of a project. It is only required when you have a stable environment, right? You have a product, you have your MVP ready, you have what is necessary. Yes, you can now start planning for test automation. And it is not a one-time task that is done and that's all. No, it's a continuous progress. It's a continuous thing. So that means that you wouldn't employ a test automation engineer. You want them to deliver it within 2-3 months so that you can ask them to go. No, it requires an ongoing task. It requires monitoring. It requires, scheduling, reassessing, updating, stability, maintenance. So yes, it's not a done once kind of thing. And yeah, from my view, I believe that test automation is a type of testing, not a new world, right? Every tester can learn and be good at it. In fact, I see it as a superpower. If you're a tester, you can do both manual and automation testing. It just gives you leverage on every platform. Test automation requires business owners' investment. Testers with automation skill sets should not be bothered with manual activities. That's the way I see it. Test automation requires time, patience, and collaboration. This test automation from my view, right? I think my take home, which is the last part, is knowledge is no value unless you put it into practice. So implement everything you have learned, be it a PM, be it a tester, be it a developer, be it business owner, implement everything you have learned here today. And yeah, that will be it from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Ibironke. So now, time for questions, if you have any.
Yes, you are
Yes,
on the sun. What's your going to
Adela, are you speaking?
I don't think we can hear Adela well, right? Or it's just me.
I think it was a mistake. So he muted himself back.
Maybe. Yeah, if you have questions, yeah, you can still put them in the chat for us, yeah, or yeah, you can just voice them. All right, so while our participants are still thinking about possible questions, I will use this chance to, okay, someone has a question, right? I see. Yes, please. Atega, right?
Mm-hmm.
Would you like to say something?
Yes. Thank you very much, Ronke, for the session. It was very short, but insightful. I think you covered most of the things that I have actually experienced. So it's a very, very insightful lecture. So I have just a question. I don't know if you have any experience with model-based testing.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like to know, if you do have experience with model-based testing, how it benefits to the actual business automation tests. Because I am not too sure if they refer to the same thing, because based on the use case in which I have seen it being implemented, I think on model-based testing, it's just more like testing the flow and not the actual business areas of the project. Like your input on that. Thanks.
All right, thank you. So for those that don't know, right, model-based testing is an application of model-based design for basically you're designing and also executing. Let me just say in a layman language, it's like you're automating like just like a user on that test, right? So models can be used to represent desired behavior under a test. So let's say you have a specific kind of flow you want to test, right? So I think that it still applies regardless. This is just to answer Tega. It still applies. One short thing I would just say here is that one, you need to understand the product you're working on, right? Once you understand that, you need to also set out the model you want to follow. Are you going to be using abstract tests, or you're going to be using execution tests? You're going to be having both model and system in place, and your execution test can run against any other tests. I don't really know if I'm answering your question, if it's not too complex, but I believe that it's quite easy regardless any kind of model of testing you want to use, regardless any framework you want to follow. So that's just it. It still work across any companies. Again, it depends. You're going to be putting a lot of things into context. There are numerous models available. Is it data flow? Is it control flow? Is it dependency graph? Is it decision kind of table flow? Is it state transitions machine? So regardless any kind of flow you want to use, one sure thing is that you're going to gather your requirements, you're going to gather your data to input it, and you're going to produce an output. So yes, all of this flow still works in them.
Thank you very much. That is clear.
Thank you very much on my side.
Yeah, so there is a question here in the chat. Konstantin, do you want to voice it?
In general, in your practice, what tools do you use in general? I think it's my question to you.
Okay. In my internal project right now, they do mobile testing on browser stack. That's what we use. So for me personally, Of course, browser stack programming language is Java, and of course Cypress for web application. I'm not really a fan of Cypress because it's not yet stable yet. You still have some, some mistakes here and there. I can't use it on cross browsers and co, so it's kind of a headache for me. But I'm quite conversant with using Java on Selenium WebDriver, BDD approach. We use Cucumber if there's a need for me to use JavaScript and Python. Any which way, I think is mostly for me. I took time to understand the concept of programming, and I can switch among them when it is necessary. But in my current project, yes, that's what we use, Cypress and browser stack for mobile with Java programming language. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. Many thanks for the session and your answer.
All right,
Thank you.
welcome.
Thank you. I believe we have one more question from Calvin. Am I right?
Yeah, correct. Hi, Ronke.
Hi,
Hi, guys. Yeah, so I have a question that I've been thinking about for a while. So, yeah, let's assume that you can't, like, you have an application and it's an application that's on live, it's working, and it's there running. Would there be any need to run a test on the application to see is there a possibility to check an application to see if it's maybe for efficiency or for security to just make it go through a QA testing? Would there be any need for that at any point? Or once it's live, everything is fine, just keep flying? You get my question?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
I mean, from your question, the answer is obviously yes, it is necessary. So yes.
So why? Yeah.
There is a need for post-deployment tests because of environment dependencies. That's the first thing. We know that staging, it's a case of 80 to 70% of production environments. So there might be need for you to confirm your data. There might be need for you to confirm the actual, working environments for your products that you deploy. Firstly, post-deployment tests actually started out of curiosity for testers. We just want to see that, yes, what they said is working fine is working fine. But as time goes on, we saw the importance because it just saves you to be the first person to identify the issues before the actual users identifies it. So for me, once we go live, I always want to, in fact, the approach I've used before is to allow the developer to roll like 20 to 30% out, right? And then I test those, I'm part of those 20% that will access the application, and then I will test it, right? It's just one, it saves you from disaster. You don't know what the customers might experience when it is on a different environment, considering that we don't have both 100% of production in staging. So yes, you want to confirm, you want to be the first person to identify the issue. You want to maintain your test. And that is where we have this, we call it schedule and monitoring, right? I've really not seen a lot of companies implement that approach, but I've worked with a company before that does that, which means that when we are in production, there is a constant monitoring on Kubernetes or any kind of, any board. It can even be HubSpot, where they log the event that is happening on production so that they can be the first person to see what is happening. And that is where you check about the team response time, the effect rates, the bug rate, and stuff like that. So it is very important because you want to save your company's stress, you want to save your company's headache, and you want to, you want to do everything that you should do as a tester, even on the production environment, to save costs, to avoid disaster, to avoid issues. So you can even quickly roll back before anybody even gets to see the issue. Again, it all speaks about the company's integrity, the company's name, and the quality of your own product. I don't know if I answered your question, Kelvin.
Yeah, you did fantastically well. Thank you so much.
All right, you're welcome.
Yeah, we have one more question from Otega, right?
Yes, I am back again. Fortunately, quality assurance is a subject that I really like very much. When I started flowing into the tech world, I was fighting with quality assurance engineers a lot until I took time to understand how they work, and it's really helped me in my career so far. And I've been able to mentor two quality assurance engineers in the fintech industry. And fortunately, one of them is my wife. So it's a continual process for me as well. So,
nice.
So with test automation, I've been trying out a lot of things in the time past. So I tried using Catalan for mobile automation, mobile and web automation. Some challenges that I experienced, and even my wife is experiencing, is going fully into the test automation, just like it is for we software engineers, whereby some jobs they'll tell you they need JavaScript, they need C#, they need Python. It's also a huge challenge for them, especially when for someone who do not have any programming experience before. It's really an overwhelming task. Now, I really want to know how you're able to overcome that particular challenge in cases whereby today they'll tell you, okay, use Selenium with JavaScript. The next one, use Selenium with Python. Use Catalan with this. So it's really a kind of frustrating angle. I would like to know your insight on how you overcome that.
Yeah. So on Saturday, I was a speaker on an event, and I talk about one of the mistakes people testers make when they want to do test automation. One of those mistakes is we jump into learning a particular programming language rather than understanding the concept of programming itself. If you, for example, if you are a developer, right? This is one thing I know developers has really helped them. When you know how to write JavaScript, for example, right? You are very good at using JavaScript. You don't find it very hard. It doesn't, when you're going into Python, it doesn't look like a new world. Right? Am I correct, Tega?
Yeah, sure.
Exactly. That is because you took time to understand the concept of programming language. And that is one thing I would just say is the solution to everything. Any tester that wants to go into test automation needs to understand, take time to understand the concept of, don't rush to pick up a programming language yet. Understand the concept of programming languages, understand what each one is necessary to be done for. A lot of people still feels like they can use JavaScript to do, I'm not talking about using Node.js now, I'm talking about React.js. They think they can use Jira.js to write the backend code, which is not true. That is because they don't even understand what each programming language even does, right? Some people still feel like they can use PHP to develop a mobile application or a web-based application. So first thing is to understand the concept of programming language, a thorough, detailed training and understanding of programming language. That way you pick up a programming language that you feel is easy for you to learn. It might be Java, it might be Python, it might be JavaScript. Once you are good with understanding what programming language is, and then you can pick up a programming language, I don't think you have issues picking to understand any other programming language. And of course, as a tester, you don't need to know all programming languages. Just know a very cross-platform programming language and you're good. Python is one of those grades too. Java is one of those grades too. And you don't necessarily also have to use the programming language that developer used to develop an application to also test. So it's just for you to understand the programming language. Pick one and be very good at it. Like learn it and be soaked in it. Then you can always look through any other one if you choose to. Did I answer your question?
Yes, insightfully. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Do we have one more question from Calvin?
I think.
Oh no, sorry. I need to lower my hand. Sorry, thank you.
That's okay. Great. Cool. So, any other questions? Anybody? Let me check. Let me check the chat. Okay, nothing is here. So, still, thank you so much for your questions. And thank you, Ibironke, for the tech talk. Even though I'm not a test automation person, engineer, yeah, but it was interesting to listen. And frankly, I haven't found something useful for myself, yeah. So, and I believe that the people who participated, yeah, they definitely found a lot of useful information for themselves today. So, thank you everyone for joining. Yeah, thank you, Ibironke, for delivering this tech talk to us today. And I do hope it's not the last time, actually. So thank you, everyone. I believe we can wrap up today. Yeah, if you have no more comments, no more questions. And thank you everyone for joining us. And please join our next Tech Talks at Symphony and share your experience with us. So you're always welcome to do that. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Many
You
thanks.
too.
Have a great day.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Bye-bye,
your time.
everyone.
See you.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.